right, everyone. This is such a treat that we have for you today. Each woman that you're going to meet, maybe for the first time as I interview them over the course of this retreat, has just something really special about them, in addition to whatever wisdom and expertise they have. But there's just something about their presence. And today's guest that we have is someone that I've had the privilege to get to know over, I think, over the last couple of years, where she has been such a calming presence. I am a leadership coach, and one of the things that we learn in coaching is that every coach needs a coach. You need someone else in your life who is supporting you, who is encouraging you, who's helping sharpen you. We hear the saying about iron, sharpening the saw, all those terms, right? In terms of us getting to where we want to be, for us refining our gifts and refining our calling. And so Tamarra has been one of those people in my life. I have had the privilege over these last 2 years to be a part of a group that she leads for other coaches, where she really holds space for us. She opens us up to talk about some of the things, the challenges that we're dealing with, but also just sharing ideas together. And I thought having her voice be a part of a series like this would be so valuable for all of you. The level of experience and expertise that she brings with her, I think, is going to really bless you. And especially with what we plan on talking about today. So I just want to say welcome to Mara. I'm so happy that you said yes.
Thank you so much, Kendra. I mean, all you had to say was, will you? Yes. I'm all for it. So thank you so much for thinking of me. And thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of the beginning of something really
Yeah,
beautiful. So I
yeah.
appreciate that.
One of the things I was thinking about knowing that I was going to get to talk to you is,
Mhm,
before I started coming to the group that you have,
mhm,
for a few years before that, I had started my own group of life coaches of us. We would just come together online, three of us during the pandemic, just to
mhm.
encourage each other. Girl, keep going. We need each other.
Yeah,
And it was so nice as I was transitioning out of that group to be invited by you to
mhm,
be a part of the group that you lead.
yeah,
And many of the coaches that are in your group, I would probably say all of the coaches in your group are way more experienced than I am. And just listening to them, the passion that they have for how they support other, professionals and the people in their lives, has really encouraged me so much. And then just watching the grace with which you help us and you encourage us. I wanted to be able to bring that wisdom that you have to the women that are going to be a part of this retreat, who are going to be watching this over the next few days.
yeah.
And so one of the first things I would love for you to do is for you to share, how did you get started? How did you coaching is not this, people don't necessarily even know what it is. So how did
No.
you know that that was what you wanted to do? And then
Mhm.
how have you continued to grow in your gifting as a coach?
Great question. How about I didn't know I was doing it until somebody told me I was doing it? Let's start there. And and being willing to step into this abyss of the unknown and being willing to actually believe the good that someone has said about you. I'll start there. I know already, right?
Mhm.
Because I have time to think about this. People ask me this question quite often. I have a technology background back when technology was fairly new. And so all of the jobs that I had had over time was in technology. But one of the things, as I am able to look back on my life, is to know and understand that I have a gift of creating team environments that work,
Mhm.
space for people to be their best selves so that we can win. Now, I have a competitive edge. I'm very competitive. Did not know how competitive I was until I understood that I was a natural when it comes to being an athlete. And thank God because that saved me. That helped me to create an understanding of what I was good at. And I'm good at being able to see things. I'm good at being able to encourage. I'm good at being able to create the play and contribute at the highest level. And at the end of the day, if there's anything that you can say about Tamara is that she's going to hustle and she's going to start in a graceful way and we are going to end in a graceful way. Yes, I'm going to want to win. And if we don't win, because we can't always win, and I think I probably learned more from losses, the L column,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
the losses aren't necessarily losses because they're lessons for life, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I was in technology for a good long time, probably about 15, 20, about 15 years in my corporate career. And I was able to experience coaching through a program that was happening at in the organization I worked for. And I took advantage of it. I was like, oh, this is something. I didn't know it was coaching, but it
Mm-hmm.
helped me to see a different perspective. It helped me to see where some of the things that I was doing was not helping me, and I cried about that.
We shouldn't laugh, but hey.
Oh, I cried. I could, what is it? Kevin Hart is laugh at my pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand. And and the other part is that it's important to have an emotion that's tied to not feeling all that great about it. Let's not act like it doesn't exist. I cried. I cried a lot. And once brushed off my knees, it's like, all right, let's see what we can do to kind of chip away at this thing. But
Mm-hmm.
long story short, I've been promoted. My last promotion in corporate, who knew that? Not me. But I was taking over this space that was really, really hairy. It was complicated. It was complex. It was in New York City, and that was the biggest thing ever for me in my career. And but one of the things I had been able to do is to navigate and be on the cutting edge of and never necessarily being the person that's being let go. People like, how are you surviving this? I was like, it's called just watch and see what's going on and don't ignore the signs. And I was able to navigate it. But long story short is I wanted someone to be able to hold the space for a conversation around changes that were happening in not within the organization, but changes in general. Right. So 2008, nobody will ever forget 2008
No.
when the stock market crashed and all of this
Mm-hmm.
foolishness, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I was 3 years into, and I there was no moving. If anything, everybody was holding on to, but people were still being let go. And in my mind's eye, I was like, I need to help people prepare for what is going to happen. And I was like, does anybody know who can just facilitate a conversation? And lo and behold, it was a woman who was a coach who had
Mm-hmm.
her own business. She was already flourishing. And at the end of the conversation, she was like, so, does the firm know that you are like the best coach I've ever met in my life? I was like, slow down. Let me get my technology, pen, paper. Let me write that down. She was like, what? I said, a coach. What? She says, you're
Mm-hmm.
not a certified coach? History. The rest is history. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I need to do. She says, you don't have to be certified, but where I see you going, do it. I said, okay, so where do you see me doing it? And I asked her for suggestions. I went to the diversity leader in the organization, and she says, this is where you're going. I'm
Mm-hmm.
dutiful. I'll go where people tell me to go. I'm trusting that they have my best interest at heart. And I went. And, you know, 10 years later, well, not 10, it was really 6 years later, the firm let me go. They outsourced and I
Yeah.
didn't want to be a part of the outsourced firm. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna cut my ties and, launch my own organization. But it really
Wow.
was based on what someone saw in me,
Mm-hmm.
what I'd always been searching for.
Mm-hmm.
I was already doing it. So let's go. Let's go.
What did she see?
Oh, it's a wonderful question. I wish I had asked her.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But what if I were to think about what did she see? She
Mm-hmm.
saw a person who was open to the possibilities
Mm-hmm.
of whatever was going to happen and being okay with it, and really being helping people to hear the truth of a thing while also offering strategies for how they're going to be able to, how they might, if
Mm-hmm.
they're willing to put some things in place for themselves. What did she see? She saw a person who has a natural ability to connect with people, for people to trust me pretty easily. And what she might not have known, and what people do know about me, is that they know what they tell me is going to go to the grave with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
not only just being a person that people want to connect to, but knowing that you can tell me and know that it will never go beyond the conversation that we are having. And
Yes.
that means a lot.
Mm.
That means a lot. I mean, people really trust us with all of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
every last bit of themselves. And it's interesting. I just got off of a call with a client, and she was like, Tamara, how is it that you know all of me and can see the brokenness in me and still be okay with me? I was like, listen, I'm connecting to the brokenness in me. And it's not necessarily piece by piece, but we're all becoming, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I said, there's things that my coach knows about me that nobody knows, family, friends included. And it
Yes.
doesn't mean that family and friends can't, there, it's not that I don't trust them with it, but I don't trust them with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a deeper part of me that I'm still trying to figure out in me. So it's not necessarily that that part of the conversation is a part of that prime time for them.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
people, I know that people know that about me and they can feel that in me. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
part of why people want to work with me. And it's because they know that they can trust me.
There's so many things that you said that I want to draw out for a second. When you talked about connection,
Yeah,
I think that the women that are going to be a part of the retreat, who are participating in this, that's one of the things that we have in common with them is the fact that people trust you
yeah,
because we provide a level of safety for
yeah.
people. And I'm wondering, even for you,
Hmm.
because you are have been entrusted with so much of what's happening in people's lives, how have you, what have you had to learn in order to take care of yourself as you are caring for other people?
Yeah. I've learned that I have to be intentional about this container,
Mm-hmm.
called Tamara.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I need to be mindful that I do stand in the gap for people, as well as being mindful to empty, to let it go, to let it flow through
Mm-hmm.
me
Mm-hmm.
and not to stay in me. To come to the conversation completely empty, hold space, and then after those conversations to let it go.
Wow.
And
I want you to pause that because
okay.
I can, so literally, as you're saying that, I'm picturing a social worker. I'm picturing a woman in ministry.
Mm,
I'm picturing a therapist. What does that mean? Like, what does it look like to let it flow through you?
yeah. Yeah. For me, because
Mhm.
outdoors nature is a way, is a tool for me. It's a
Mhm.
space for me to be able to be one with spirit outside. I don't know what it is, but I start my day outside. I'm not quite right if I don't start my day outside. And it could
Mm-hmm.
be like in the summertime, I spend time with my plants and I have vegetables and I'm this and I'm, pulling out weeds. And that is a way for me to cleanse and just be open and just
Mm-hmm.
work out my own stuff because I
Yes.
have my own stuff. And how can I forget about me? And
Mhm.
what do I need to do to forget about me? And so that can look like a lot of different things. I like to
Mhm.
crochet. It's mindless and it's productive. I like
Mhm.
to do puzzles. So the Sudoku puzzles, I end my night by doing a puzzle. My husband's why? Because there's the stuff that needs to be worked out and somehow making sense of this logical puzzle, although it's complicated, it's not as complicated as it could be.
Mhm.
So I like to walk, I like to be in nature. I love cutting the grass. I love doing puzzles. I have a 1,000-piece puzzle sitting downstairs.
Mhm.
I just need to kind of let go. So whatever activity for
Mhm.
me that does not require thought,
Mhm.
I've I don't need to think about it. I just want to do it and get lost in it. That's my
Mm.
way of being able to allow things to flow through. And it could be through tears, it could be through prayer, it could be through meditation, it could be through a lot of things. And earlier, when you say every coach needs a coach,
Mhm.
to have a coach, and coaches need therapists, and coaches need to go get a massage,
Mhm.
coaches need
Mhm.
acupuncturists with
Mhm.
all of the it's, you know, all of those things are a way of putting us back together or working
Yes.
out those pieces.
Yeah.
And yeah.
When Because what it made me think about, even too, as you are describing the different methods or activities that you do,
Hmm.
is there is a weight that comes with supporting other people. And
Yes.
it is for me, it has truly been a calling that I enjoy.
Hmm.
I find a lot of peace in it. That doesn't mean it's not hard sometimes.
Yes.
And us figuring out what helps us unburden ourselves with everything that people are bringing to us,
Mm.
because we have we are not God for people. We are people. We are human beings, and we get to be
Yes.
used in a very powerful way to
Mm.
support people, but we also still need to find a way to unburden ourselves from
That's
what other people have, not taking that on ourselves. And so you just describing that, I think, is in such a practical way too, right?
right.
And
Hmm.
there's a lot of different methods and things that we can be doing that help
Hmm.
us unburden ourselves.
Yeah. And I'll also say that because the people who are closest to me know what I do
Mhm.
for a living, don't ask me. Please don't.
Tell me
Right.
more. Tell me more about them.
So, in other words, when you do a thing for eight,
Mhm.
9, 10 hours, I don't
Mhm.
want to do it for another minute.
Mhm.
Once I'm done, that's it, I'm done. And, sometimes people have to learn, and there may be people who don't know me that well. Like I just reminds me, I was walking. I love walking. And I was
Mhm.
going in the morning with a couple of young ladies, and one person knew that I was a coach. And now she
Mhm.
bringing all her stuff to the walk. I was,
Mhm.
no. She says, but aren't you? I said, I'm here to walk and I'm here to,
Mhm.
really be open to talking about other things. And I
Mhm.
didn't watch much TV and I just don't watch TV, but they were talking about Greenleaf. I said, "Girl, I'll watch that, but I'm gonna listen to you talk about
Mhm.
it until I saw it on Netflix. I was, oh my God, no wonder they were so excited to talk about it. But don't ask me about what I do
Mhm. Mhm.
when I am trying to be open to preparing for what I do, right? If you want to hire me, then hire me during my working hours. But
Mhm.
don't let my play or my time to get myself prepared don't infringe on that. That's a boundary of mine. And
Mhm.
I find that, you know, us as women some sometimes it's hard for us to put up the guardrails and
Yes.
say that's not what we're doing today. But I was so annoyed. At first, I didn't even realize it was happening because it's such a part of me. And then I'm like, wait
Yes.
a minute. Why do I feel like I have done all this work and it's just 7 o'clock in the morning right now?
Yes.
No.
And how do you pull yourself out of doing that when you are because so let me you just got me really excited. So I'm sorry I'm kind
Yeah.
of stumbling over my words a little bit because when you said this, you being on a walk is actually one of the ways that you re-energize yourself for the work that you're about to do. So
Right.
if on the walk now you slip into coach mode, and for people that are watching, if you slip into therapist mode or if you slip into nursing mode, like you start, oh well girl, you might have this, or did you talk to your doctor about, you kind of find yourself slipping into that mode.
Mhm.
So maybe that person isn't even trying to, get free coaching from you, right? But
No.
you slipped over into that because it's just what you do all the time. It's like a muscle that you work so much. But when you catch yourself, how do
Hmm.
you pull yourself out of it?
Yeah, I basically, and I actually say things that I'm thinking out
Hmm.
loud because
Hmm.
do people like, I can't wait to get free coaching from Tamara? I don't think that that was her intention.
Of
I don't
course.
know.
Right, right.
Right? But it's like you said, if we're sharing and sharing is caring and we're doing it,
Yeah.
but when it starts to feel like this is feeling heavy and this walk isn't enjoyable anymore, what's going on? It's like, wait,
Hmm.
wait, 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 wait. We've been out here for 45 minutes and 30 of them have been me, like really working very hard. And
Yeah.
so what I have done is like, I will say, you know what, respectfully, we're going to need to change the subject because
Yes.
this feels a little bit like coaching engagement. And
Mm.
if, in fact, this is something you want to work on long term, that is something that you can hire me to do. And she was like, but you were just telling me. I said, I know. And I felt, and hey, I'm telling you that I know and just count it as complimentary.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
have 30 minutes of that. And we've
Yeah.
already spent 25 of the 30.
Yes, yeah.
So
And I love I
let's
love
do
that
that.
because you actually shifted the conversation. So
Mhm.
again, for the women that are watching, if you find yourself, because it's so natural, like, and I'm
Mhm.
laughing because I'm actually thinking about an incident. That's what made me, and that's what got me all excited because I was like,
Right.
I remember catching myself. It's like,
Mhm.
did nobody ask you for no coaching right now? Just
Nobody.
just listen to the story. It's like you don't have to try to ask them, these questions to see what was the deeper meaning. Like
Right.
just just enjoy the conversation with the person that you're talking to.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That is
Yeah.
exactly right. And
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like, and someone asked me, don't you feel like you're cheating people because you're not giving all of you? And I
Mhm.
said, no, I'm not
Mhm.
cheating people because this is my livelihood.
Yeah.
Right. So if I
Yeah.
decided that coaching was going to be something that I did every now and again, but
Hmm.
this is how I make my living, and I have to
Yes.
respect that. And
Yes.
I want others to respect me in that.
Hmm.
And so, yeah. Does it mean that I won't say something that will help someone along the way? No, I've been giving away gems
Yes. Yeah.
all day. But when it becomes this thing, and we were walking 3 times a week, now you get into some, oh, no, pay for that,
Yes.
right? And that's what it is. I want to respect people's gift. If your gift is X, would you want someone to keep asking for that for free every single time they saw you?
Mhm.
I would think no.
Right. Just like your smartphone needs regular charging, so do you. Without regular recharging, your energy and spirit can run out, leaving you feeling drained and ineffective. Join the Strong Her Leadership Coaching Cohort to build soul care habits that prioritize your well being. Nurture your inner self, not just to care for others, but to sustain your own health and happiness. Strengthen your capacity to lead with confidence and resilience. Prioritize yourself and see the difference it makes in your life and leadership. Learn more at strongher.me/leadership cohort. I want to shift us. Like, I do think that this is adjacent to what I wanted to talk to you about, which is
Hmm.
resilience
Yes.
and how resilience actually helps us manage stress
Hmm.
and live very purposefully in our lives intentionally. And as a because I just know that the women that we're talking to, they are resilient, so
Hmm.
there's no question about that. So then
Hmm.
how do they use that resilience to help them manage the stress that they are experiencing in their lives? So one of the things I was wondering about is, what are some of the common traits that you've observed in the women that you work with, or the people that you work with, in terms of what resilience looks like?
Yeah, it's resilience is one of the words that really resonates with me, is connected
Mm-hmm.
to my brand, right? The
Mm-hmm.
whole TCR, and resilience is right in the middle of it. And I feel like resilience is it 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 gains its strength because it is there when things don't quite work out
Mm-hmm.
100%. Resilience is about that bounce back. And how do I get my footing? How do I feel the feel, come out of it better or more advanced or whatever it is? And so I find that resilience is it's very much an individual thing as well. Like I don't know all of what helps people to do that bounce back, but I believe
Mm-hmm.
that part of it is understanding and knowing that there are things that's going to happen in as much as we don't want them to, or it's untimely, and there's nothing that happens that is not right on time for
Mm-hmm.
us. And it's really about how we're thinking about the thing
Mm-hmm.
to help us, that really helps us to see what's possible on the other side of it, as well as how do I keep myself there as often as possible,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm a very visual person. If I can lock in on a word or a photo or a thing, it reminds me of something else. It's there as a reminder that, oh no, especially when we're developing and growing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's easy for us to be our old selves, if you will. But as we're developing, developing into I don't want to call it better, because better is so, blah, right? It's a more enhanced us. It's us
Mm-hmm.
that is focused on us in a way, and ourselves in a way that gives honor to us. So how can I be at my best in this moment? And it might be because I see a word, or I see a sign, or I see a phrase that helps me to be resilient, and that helps others to kind of think of what might they need in order to remind themselves that although this happened, that
Mm-hmm.
is not who I am for the rest of my life. What is going to be meaningful for me to get back on track? I'm hoping I answered your question.
Yes, you did answer my question, and it is bringing me back to something that you had talked about earlier when you talked about in 2008.
Mhm.
You talked about you that was that the first time you met with a coach, when was in 2008?
It was the first time I met with a coach was 2000, I think it was 2004 or 2005. I was starting to get antsy in my career,
Mm-hmm.
and with the firm that I worked with, they understood that when people were with the firm and they hit a certain level, between 8 and 10 years, they either stayed or they left.
Mm-hmm.
And so they actually thought very proactively, let's give people some coaching so that they can understand and make a decision about, if you're going to go, why you're going, not just because it just feels right to go.
Yeah.
And if you're going to stay, what kinds of things are going to turn you up? And it was fascinating. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes, all these things. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And 2000, the reason why 2008 stood out to me because
Hmm.
my own resilience story that I often share, which is the result, this business, Strong Her Me, coaching and consulting, is a result of an experience that my husband and I went through with the real estate market
Oh yeah.
crashing and how devastating that was for us financially and the journey that it really took me on in terms of my relationship with God, my relationship with myself,
Yes.
and everything that I grieved and had to learn to grow through that process and
Yes.
really resilience. When I always think back to that season of our life, which it took us about 10 years to really financially get back to a good place. So,
Yes.
but I would say it probably took us about 7 years, but it took me 10 years emotionally.
Oh yeah. Come on.
Yeah,
That's a lot. Yes.
it took me a really long time and resilience is what I think helped me to no longer be resentful because I
Yes.
think resentment is a sign of unforgiveness, it's a
Yes.
sign of pain and hurt, disappointment, all of those things. And it really took me a long time to recover. And so what I was wondering from you in terms of building that resilience where you can bounce back stronger. That's so much where my brand and my mission comes from is how do we bounce back stronger than we were before we went through whatever it is that we went through?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
And I think for me, and you and I know this as coaches,
Hmm.
is when our brain is very, very powerful. It can believe just about anything.
Yeah.
Not even just about, it does. It
Yes.
believes everything.
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't have an ability to sift through what is true,
Hmm.
truth and the true, and what's true and
Hmm.
what's truth. And so what we say is who we are. What we say is who we are. And so in those moments, what am I saying about myself can either deflate me
Hmm.
or it's going to give me that push, right? When you were talking earlier, there's so much judgment in the things that we could say about us. I was just so stupid, or I'm just being ridiculous, or why am I an idiot? Those, your brain is, you're an idiot. It's not, even asking the questions is, oh yeah. And then you're okay, well, that's what I do, and that's who I am. And no, I am not. I'm not any of those things. And so, you know, resilience is based on telling yourself, and it's affirmations, right? It's the basis of why affirmations are so very important. And however and whatever you utilize as an affirmation, right? People can use the Bible as an affirmation. There's a ton of things that are out there to help to ground you in a thing,
Hmm.
to help you get not through it, but to deal with the thing so
Hmm.
that you can elevate. Because there's always going to be another level of elevation, always going to be another place of
Hmm.
elevation.
Hmm.
And I think with the assistance of a therapist, sometimes if I had understood what that was, I would
Right.
have gotten one of those too.
Yes.
And
Yes.
not to say that I don't have one, right? I'm in the process
Mhm.
of getting one for me. But you know, it really is a way of being able to make sense of what's going on in here so that we can treat ourselves with care and treat ourselves with the respect that we deserve because we are still becoming. We're not done. Who you were in 2008 is not who you were in 2018.
Absolutely not.
And, you
Hmm.
know, not 2024 for sure
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
beyond. And so, but you needed to be that in 2008, to
Hmm.
be who you were in 2018, to
Hmm.
be who you are right now. And that's only setting you up for who you're becoming. Right. So I always think about someone, I was talking to someone, I don't know, I talk to a lot of people, And I've heard this said over time, but the setback, right, is a setup for the, I can't remember
I
the
think it's
last part,
comeback, right?
for the comeback, right?
Yeah, yes.
The setback was the setup. If we were already where we were supposed to be, we wouldn't have to worry about comeback, right? I
Yeah.
love a comeback story.
Yes.
I've been in
Hmm.
a lot of ways, we all have. And those are the things, whatever it is that we're able to grab from those experiences, those
Hmm.
are the things that really help us as individuals to know what I got to tap into the next time this or something similar comes our way.
Yes. So, so good. So good. Y'all
Yeah.
can even pause this and back up and so good. Just the thought that who you were before has really prepared you for where you are now, and everything that you've been through is that's why the saying is you're where you're supposed to be. Where
Right.
you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be. And the women that are watching this have a strong faith in God and
Mm,
what his ability is to do through
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes though, Tamara, we need to be reminded
Oh my God.
of that
All day
power
long.
that is on the inside of us, that we are not powerless. We
Hmm.
have a hope. We have a strength that we don't even know we didn't even know we had.
We didn't even know, and he didn't create us. Listen, he would not have created us had we not had it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and here's the other thing that I feel, and it has been coming up more and more often, and I see it even for myself. What he put in us is easy.
Mm, mm,
What he put in us was the thing that we find easy and the thing that we often disrespect
mm,
because we feel that ain't work. That don't feel like work.
mm,
It's like, come on, but that's special for you. The way you do what you do is the thing, is the value. And, it's really up to us to exercise that muscle of trust and faith. And that's another word I have on the, I have words everywhere.
mhm,
And trust and is a muscle, and faith is a muscle to be exercised, because when you don't believe in a thing, you shouldn't be surprised that you don't have a thing.
mhm,
But when you're like, no, I'm going to have that thing, something changes. But when you say, I have the thing, even if there isn't a physical manifestation of the thing, you're already halfway to it, because you have already got that brain is connected to the words that you use. But really just trusting and believing in yourself enough, and trusting and believing in spirit that was given to you to do the work, whatever the work is, whatever it is,
mhm,
do it. And you keep showing up, and he's going to show up.
mm.
You keep doing the work, and because people are like, oh, you're so lucky. Methinks not.
Right, right. Yes.
That would be a no. I don't count anything as luck.
Yeah, me neither. I don't believe in happenstance, chance. I believe in divine appointment. That's what I
Yes,
believe. And that don't mean sunshine and rainbows. That's
that
not,
does
to
not
me,
mean
that's not
no.
what it means. Don't mean
Right.
lollipops and cotton candy. Yeah, it just means there is a purpose
Yeah.
for where I'm living, and I don't necessarily know why things happen the way that they do, but I know that it's working out for my good. In
Yeah.
the end, it's all coming together for my good.
Mm.
I was I want to wrap up our conversation talking about this self-talk
Yeah.
and how we are thinking. And I think there's plenty of verses in scripture to back up how much what we believe and what we think impacts what we see in our lives. And in order for a woman to really step into that resilience, that strength that she has, that maybe she didn't know she had. And, we're going to give her a lot of opportunities over this week she's going to learn to say no, establish boundaries,
Yes.
um, find more ways to care for herself. How would you advise them in terms of how that self-talk is actually impacting that resilience and them being able to manage the stress that they're feeling in their lives from day to day?
Yeah, that's a good question. As you were saying that, one of the first things that comes to my mind is, is this helping me?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is that you just said, is
Mm-hmm.
this helping me right now?
Mm-hmm.
And be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If the answer is what I just said to myself is helpful, all right. But if you know in your heart of hearts that this is not helping me right now,
Mm-hmm.
know that that's a place
Mm-hmm.
to shift. That's a place to let me find something else that is more helpful. This is helpful. The second thing I would say is with your best girlfriend or your ace, the people you care about the most. Would you say what you're saying to yourself? Would you say it to them? If you know that you would not say it to them, yeah, nah, stop saying that to yourself, right? Because we do care for other people more than we care for ourselves. And so in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
would I say this to Kendra? Yeah, no. How about let's put that one on the shelf too. Let's not do that. And I think the third thing around, this space of words is to find a word that really turns you up. What is something that if you saw it, it brings a smile to your face. If you saw it, it burns. It brings that burn in your body. That's, you know what? Oh, well, right? That's not what we doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so for me, is I don't even know what the word is, but my phrase to myself is that's not what you're doing. I got the honest truth. That's not what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That nope,
Mm-hmm.
no. With some conviction,
Mm-hmm.
right? No, that's that's not what we're doing.
Yes.
So if I say that out loud, well, guess what? That isn't what we're doing. And we're going to find something, one thing, small thing. And if it has to be, you know what? I'm going to go walk to this mailbox and I'm come back up here and I'm going to finish this thing. 10 minutes, that's it, done. I'm not going to sit here and let this thing, you know, continue to bother me and stress me out. No, right? Say it with some conviction,
Yes. Yes.
right? It's like my
Yes.
mother used to, your mama used to look at you. Don't give yourself the eye.
Side eye your own self, right?
Right? And it can be something
Mhm.
else. It makes you laugh. You're like, okay, let me stop playing. Stop
Yes.
playing.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And what I love about that is, to me, it reminds me of one of the principles that I firmly believe in. I call it a success habit, is coaching yourself. Like
Yes.
you are coaching yourself, because sometimes, so there's a scripture that talks about that David encouraged himself in the Lord.
Hmm.
And that means to encourage is about how he coached himself. He spoke to himself, because you don't always have other people to do it. So you have to do it. You have to learn how to do it for yourself.
That's right.
And, and so that's why I love that. You also said there's, a couple of questions to ask yourself. Is this self-help I mean, is this self-talk helping me? Like
Right.
an evaluation, a check-in with yourself. It's like, okay, because you're paying attention to how you're talking to yourself. You know,
Right.
we oftentimes treat other people better than we treat. This is the body that you gotta walk around in, you gotta live in this body, and
That's
we
right.
just talk to it any old kind of way.
Any old kind of way.
Yes,
Come on.
and that brings me to your second point about would you talk to your friend this way? Well, shouldn't you be your own best friend? Like, shouldn't you be your own best friend, your biggest cheerleader, your
Hmm.
biggest champion, and your biggest encourager? Like, girl, we did that. Like, we were
Yes.
scared, but we did it
Yeah.
anyway.
But I feel like it becomes a learned behavior,
Yes.
right? Because we've been taught and nurtured to
Mm-hmm.
be nurturers of others, but we haven't
Yes.
been told that it's okay to do that for ourselves.
Yes.
And so even for all of this time, however long you've been on the planet, you're like, I can't even believe. Like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, we can't change it, we can't go back, but know that you can do that for yourself. You deserve that for yourself. So why
Yes, you do.
wouldn't you do that for yourself?
Yes, you do. You
Yeah.
deserve that for yourself. And
Mhm.
that is such an affirming statement that when I've said that to other women and just tears because I don't think sometimes we even realize we don't see ourselves as worthy or deserving
Yes.
of care. And it can look like because we are caring for so many other people, it
Hmm.
can look like to us, we can fool ourselves into thinking that we care about ourselves.
That's right.
And we can only love each other people as well as we know how to love ourselves.
That's exactly right.
Right. So
That's
people
exactly
that
right.
tend to be really critical of others are usually very critical of themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you can, yes, indeed, what
Hmm.
you just said.
Yeah.
And I think because we are able to be in that relationship with our clients and the people that
Hmm.
we work with, that we can speak to what we see. We
Yes.
speak to the God that we see in people. We speak to
Yes. Yes.
the
Hmm.
creator and the
Hmm.
way that he's showing up in people.
Hmm.
And because they have this connection with us, they will believe us before they believe themselves. And
Hmm.
that's okay for now. And it's really about how do we strengthen that muscle so that we help you to believe you for you.
Hmm.
And first I believe that many people have to hear it from someone else, and that's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And like you said, that is okay. And so right now we are here to be that for you and to
Yeah.
remind you if you've forgotten,
Mm.
we're here to remind you of just that. And so,
Yeah.
Tamara, I just want to thank you again for your wisdom and like, don't she just have this really calming presence about her? And I know that some women are going to want to connect with you, stay connected to you. And how would they
Yeah.
go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my email address is Tamara, so it's
Mhm.
Tamarra at TCR, my initials, coaching.com. That's the best way. I will also give a link to you, Kendra, and you can
Yes,
share the link with them,
absolutely. Yes.
and you can through this link you'll be able to set up a complimentary call. You can check out my LinkedIn. You can check out,
Mhm.
maybe by then I'll have my Facebook. Who knows? But the idea is really just to learn more about me, right? So it's
Yes.
Tamara at tcrcoaching.com. I'll give you my phone number too. It's 609 238 2874. 609-238-2874. But the best way is really through the link, and it gives you a lot of different ways to connect with me, follow me, and be in touch with me.
Yes, and we'll make sure that they get that link. And so
Yeah.
we are so thankful for your time. We're thankful for your guidance, your wisdom, and thank you for being a part of this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kendra. I appreciate you.